Yo, it's Mel from Rap Rankings. To hear the full episode this clip comes from and all the other episodes, stop by raprankings.com or search Rap Rankings on your favorite podcast platform.
Okay, we are back, and we are joined by a returning guest. Kill is back.
Yes, sir.
It's been a minute.
Kill, it has been quite a minute. I got to let you know, the last time you were with us, we did Reasonable Doubt, and it's still number one on the board right now.
That's dope. That's very dope, man. I'm just glad to be part of something. You know what I mean? That's still number one up there, man. I appreciate what you guys are doing for the culture, for real.
Oh, wow.
We appreciate you. We appreciate Apartment 5B, which you guys should check out. Kill's podcast. Of course, Kill's a dope producer as well. He's just a dope dude in general. We talked a little bit more about that on the Reasonable Doubt episode, some of the things that he does for the community, and just overall, just a great husband, father, etc., etc. The list goes on. Kill, welcome back, and we're here to discuss, to me, another classic from a similar time period as Reasonable Doubt.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Yeah, specifically this track 4, eye for eye, parentheses, your beef is mine's, featuring Nas and Raekwon, produced by Havoc.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we usually like to let the guests, decide if they want to speak first ratings wise, or if they want us to, go first.
I mean, man. I'll set it off, man. To me, this is a 10 out of 10, man. You know what I mean? When you coming off of survival of the fittest, you know what I mean? And you go into this eye for an eye. I mean, bro, like everything about this was crazy. You know what I mean? I've got broken down in 3 different parts to talk about, like, because this joint is just so crazy. So, I mean, I'll just leave it at my 10 out of 10, and, we'll build it as we go on. But like I said, I got this track broken down in 3 different pieces to why it's so amazing. You know what I mean?
Nice. Okay. Well, Moles, you want to go, or are you gonna put me on the spot?
I mean, I'll go. I don't care about what order we're going in. I gave the song an 8-, so you can ding me, baby.
Okay.
There we go.
Well, me, the whippersnapper. I do like the record, but I guess amongst everyone who's here today, the least amount. But I like it. Flat 7.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Well, we all like the record, that's for sure. So that's always
the
nice.
Audience can breathe a sigh of relief. Mel is he's not committing crimes against hip hop so far.
Not tonight.
No doubt, man.
Not this time. Although I must say, coming out of we just wrapped up that season 6, which was like all Wu-Tang. I saw Raekwon as a feature and I got scared because I have this kind of running. I wouldn't call it a feud, but Raekwon, maybe this is controversial, one of my least favorite members of Wu-Tang. I find that his rapping is a little dense, to say the least.
Okay.
And not so much in a content sense. It's just what I've been referring to it as is he raps in code, meaning like it's a lot of slang and a lot of, it sometimes is difficult to decipher during the Wu-Tang season, as opposed to like a Jizza or a Method Man, where it seemed to have all of the flavor and metaphor and slang, but it was more decipherable for me.
Right.
So, yeah, like I saw Raekwon and I got worried, but luckily I think he did just fine here. Everybody, he did just fine, but I'll just lead off by saying he is my least favorite verse. It's not a bad verse. It's my least favorite verse on here. But,
Right.
Yeah,
no,
I mean,
I agree with you there, actually. Now, Kill, I'm on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Raekwon's maybe my 3rd or 4th favorite member of the Wu-Tang. Cuban Links, when it all shook out by the end of the season, ended up being my highest rated solo debut from a Wu-Tang member. So
okay. I could definitely
I don't have this problem with Raekwon that Mel does, but I grew up in New York. I was born and raised in New York. I'm a little bit older than Mel, so Ray is a little bit more attuned to my senses musically than, Mel's, but I do agree with Mel here that out of the 4 verses on the song, if I had to pick one to put in last place, I would go with Ray. However, not a single verse on this thing is whack. Every verse is dope. It's just varying levels of dope for me.
Right. No, I definitely feel you with that. For me, I probably would put Ray 3. I probably would put Have last.
Okay.
Nas, P, Ray, and then Have. But again, I think the point that you made is dope, that all 4 of them are dope. But I always tell people, if it's still a race, somebody got to come in last. You know what I mean? So last isn't always a bad thing when you're amongst greats. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And I always tell people that on the timeline and in person, we got to get past this, you saying that person came in last, but I'm like, dog, it's Nas, P, having Ray. Like, you're talking about, 2 of the greatest lyricists, in my opinion, and 2 very dope MCs. I wouldn't say Have or Ray, would be ranked as some of the illest lyricists ever, whereas Nas and P would, but still 2 very dope MCs. So, coming in last is not, a bad thing when you're up against 2 of the greatest MCs of all time, in my opinion.
Right.
Hey, I've probably said it at this point on the review by now, but P is my favorite rapper of all time. So
can't be mad at that, man.
I'm a little protective.
In 95, 96, P may have been the dopest MC walking the planet Earth. And I always go back and forth with Nas folk. But even a lot of Nas folk will tell you, man, P, during that Hell on Earth time, man, he was a dangerous dude, man. Like, still shining and right back at you. The remix, like, P was a problem in that 95, 96 year. I mean, and even if people don't think he was the nastiest, he's definitely top 3 during that time. Like, when P was on, man.
Yeah. I mean, I would say probably for me on here, like the ranking just within this song, I would put Prodigy, my favorite verse, on here. Then Nas, then Havoc, then Raekwon. So
Wolves and Mel Connect. There you go.
Oh, word? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just speaking of there being so many greats in the building, I was shocked to find just reading about the record. Apparently, verbal intercourse also took place like during this session, like when they were together, which is one of the few songs that I did enjoy on Cuban Links. But I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, just as someone who's been in studios, as a rapper or just as an observer, it's always interesting when you sort of, the kids, I guess these days will call it catching a vibe, but it's like it's crazy to hear that these all happen within like a similar space,
Right.
But
right.
Yeah, it's I'll say, and I probably talked about it at this point in the review, but I was telling Mools off air that this is probably one of my favorite produced albums we've done on the show so far.
Okay.
And I've been like deemed unjustly, might I add, the New York hater due to my ratings, but that's not true. And I think, an album like this proves it's not true, because there's something about this production. I was told a lot coming in, like, okay, Mobb Deep is very, very grimy, very, very cold. But what I kind of was shocked to find, I was warned a bit, because I think, Mools, you told me this was kind of like the production. You said it was kind of like Midnight Marauders meets Liquid Swords. Is that what you said?
Kind of. I was saying it was more. My feeling before you had heard it was, based on your tastes, I would say that this album, production-wise, feels like a cross between those 2 albums.
Yeah, like it has more, I guess, musicality than I like expected coming in. Like I expected a boom bap album, it to be very grimy, very, booming, but like there's, like different melody moments in the album that I really dig the album and we just came off of Slum Village, like Fantastic Volume 2. So like, I feel like God. I've gotten 2 production treats in a row,
Man, that Volume 2, man, so much to say about that album right there, man.
Yeah, we we definitely talked a lot about that. But this, I knew I liked the beat as soon as it came on. I got the grimy stuff I was promised. And and like
This
the
beat,
coldness.
I mean, we got to start with this beat. This boom, 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 boom. And we're just booming drums, man. Like, Havoc, to me, highly underrated, despite the fact that he gets his flowers. But I don't hear him brought up enough in the same conversations a lot of the time when it comes to your Premiers, your Pete Rocks, your RZAs. You know, sometimes people forget to bring up Hav, but to me, his production has always towed the line really well between it, like, it sounds good, it's really, you know, it's kind of dynamic sounding, and there's still this grit and this grime to it. I just think he toes that line excellently.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just little touches that I pick up on, just like, you know, the snare as that reverb on it. That's what gives it that sense of coldness to me, like this space. Like, I just pictured the whole time listening to this album, I was told beforehand, like, well, as you said, this is like a winter album.
Big
and as
time.
it's getting colder outside, you know, the music is coming alive. This whole album, I'm just like picturing myself in a bubble coat, like just standing outside, like, and it makes that cold more tolerable. It's very much in tune with, like, you know, just that season for me. So I'm digging that a lot. And I think the main reason this works for me, because, you know, people who are familiar with the show know, like, I've been teased for a lot of reasons. You know, the generation of rap I came up in, the rappers were a lot less hard, you know, than they were in the mid 90s or even before that. But what I appreciate about Mobb Deep, I found on this album, is like, we did MOP not too long ago, and, you know, I came around on them because at first, like, I was like, oh, these are the guys that just scream a lot. But once I got like an album of them completely, they started to click with me. And I feel like here with Mobb Deep, it's like the same violence and like threatening nature, but what gets me about them is like the seriousness. Like, they don't have to scream. And it's like, you know, you hear sometimes the scariest dudes be like the calmest ones, you know, like there's an intimidation, I think, that comes across, especially with Prodigy. It's like, it's not cartoonish, like, it was the same playtime, as it's like dead serious. And that contributes so much to my enjoyment of the album. Like, it's a lot of times, you know, when threats are being made or there's violence, it can feel a little over the top, or I can just kind of get numb to it track after track. But there's a sort of seductiveness that Prodigy raps about this stuff with, that this calmness that makes it more palpable for me, you know, because I'm not a hard dude, but like, I'm listening to this and it feels like more than just listening to a guy talk about, I'm a put this in you and I'm a, you know, like, it feels a little more weighty than that. So I appreciate that about Mobb Deep, you know, because I think it's a mark of good artistry when you can make somebody who does not live a lifestyle like you lock into a lifestyle that you're describing. You know, like, I'm the furthest thing from living this kind of lifestyle, and yet
right,
I'm
or
following
still
along.
Even just relate to the emotions.
Right. Exactly.
Maybe not the lifestyle, but the emotions that are being expressed.
Right. You know, like, you know, just kind of skip around a bit. Like, there are lessons. I just came off of seeing Carlito's Way for the first time in my life. But like, there are lines in this song that kind of remind me of that film, because, you know, he says, a Prodigy, niggas tried to creep on the side of my Jeep, stuck the heat through the window, rocked their ass to sleep. Over a 3-pack, it was a small thing, really, yeah, but keep letting the small things slide and be a failure. You know, like, that's just a lesson I could take with me. I don't have to be from the streets. It's like, I think about Carlito's Way. He let Benny Blanco live. That ends up kind of being his downfall at the end. It's like letting things slide. It's just like this sort of awareness and the street smarts, really, is the phrase that Prodigy can get across, that I can sort of apply to my own life, you know? So I'm locked in like a philosophical sense with this dude, even though we are running like completely perpendicular to each other, you know? Like, on a more, I guess, petty and trivial note, like the hook itself, as time goes by, an eye for an eye, we in this together, son, your beef is mine. Like, for me, my connection is, you know, me standing by Drake when he was beefing with Kanye for the past 3 years.
Oh my God.
Okay. Like,
is there a way we could shut this kind of talk down? Is there a productive way that we could shut this kind of talk
I'm
down?
just saying, it's like, I understand, like, your beef is mine. It's like, when you ride with somebody, you inherit that. Like, that's the kind of, so I was locked in just from
That's
the hook.
what you think of? You know, what about
I'm being honest.
You know what it is? Because this generation, nobody's got each other's backs anymore. They don't understand loyalty. So all they know is, oh, remember when Drake said to Kanye, oh, I don't care what you say about me. I don't care if you hurt my feelings. I remember when he said that, and I'm standing by him. Meanwhile, I'm thinking about all the times when I was actually riding for people.
I mean, I have real life stories. I mean, I connect with this I share the ideals. I mean, I would like to think the people who I consider myself close to, I'm friends with, I'm riding for them in that way. You got a beef, that's my beef. I mean, I got rapper friends who got beefs with dudes, and then so I got beefs with them now,
I've been saying this for the longest. There's really no loyalty in the game anymore.
Well, that's for cultural rankings. I'm sure we'll do that one day, but
I'm interested though, because this is a highlight of the album for me. Kill, you chose this song. There's so many great songs on this album. What was your thought process behind Eye for an Eye?
I mean, number one, man. I mean, well, all right. Let me answer your question. I think because I just remember hearing this album for the first time, and like I said, you're coming off Survival of the Fittest, and I also want to paint the scene of Mobb Deep, because a lot of people don't really realize that this was, their sophomore album. And that Juvenile Hell was their first album. Hit It From the Back was very kind of kiddie-ish. They were walking around with them sickles, like from Children of the Corn or whatever, very gimmicky and everything like that. So, number one, like, we kind of wrote off hip-hop heads at that time, like, not even wrote off Mobb Deep, because to write somebody off, you would have had to really be fucking with them in the first place. And I don't think anybody was really, like, fucking with Mobb Deep hard like that. You know what I mean? Like, they at that time, they seemed like they were almost kid rappers, probably too, because they were short. You know what I mean? And they're talking about hitting it from the back. So cats kind of threw them in. I mean, niggas was fucking with Illegal probably more than they was fucking with Mobb Deep. You know what I mean? So then you're coming off of Juvenile Hell, and then you hear Shook Ones, not the one that make the album, but the original Shook Ones, which was completely different than anything that we had heard on Juvenile Hell. So it was like, whoa, like, it's almost like I tell people the first time I heard Jay after, I Can't Get With That, or the joint with Can I Get Open with Original Flavor, and then you hear In My Lifetime, you're like, whoa, like, this ain't the same.
Yeah,
Jay-Z
I remember you saying,
that.
like, he
like,
was doing like Iggity raps.
Right. So if the last time you heard Jay-Z, he's doing the Iggity, Stiggity, and then you hear In My Lifetime, you're like, whoa, what is this? So it's the same, almost the same swing from Juvenile Hell to hearing the first Shook Ones and being like, ooh, like, this is nasty. Like, damn, this is crazy. And then you hear Shook Ones 2, you see the video, you like, yo, this is crazy. Shook Ones 2 becomes one of the biggest songs in hip hop history. So you're listening to the album and you're hearing Survival of the Fittest, and you like, yo, this shit is crazy. And then, like you said, you hit a beat and you just like, yo, what is this? And then one of the things I love about this song is the way the MC set it off. I always tell people it's a lost art, and in the way an MC sets a song off. When you think about, J. Rue Come Clean, you want to front wide, jump up and get bucked, or, still on Bucktown, I walk around town with the pound strap down on my side, no fronting just in case I got to smoke something. Like, it was something about the way you set off the song. So when P comes in with, let me start from the beginning at the top of the list. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not a situation like this, like, just the way he set that off, like it's just incredible. It's so dope to me that, like, I've written record reviews in the past, and I'm like, yo, let me do like P. Let me start it from the beginning at the top of the list. Like, I've quoted that in me writing things about hip hop. So, like, that was crazy. I mean, then you talk about Nas. I mean, good God Almighty, like, a drug dealer's dream, stash cream keys on the triple beam, 500 SL green, 95 nickel gleam, condominium thug dressed like a gentleman, tailor-made ostrich, Chanel for my women friend. Yo, right there, we right there we would stop and rewind it back. Like, yo, what the fuck
and
did that nigga
that's
just
how
say?
I felt listening to it, because the flow, it was one of those Nas moments where he's being a technician. It's like murdering numbers on your head while I'm burgling, shanking, serving them. What's up to all my niggas swerving in? Like, just the way those syllables connect.
But even before we got there, bro, because keeping in mind, we're hearing we heard Illmatic, we haven't heard a lot from Nas since. So then you hear this, and I mean, bro, the thing that fucked us all up was tailor-made ostrich Chanel for my women friend. Like, see, that's some old head shit. That's like shit that my uncles would say. Like, yo, kill me, my woman friend. You ain't gonna have no old head telling you meet my girlfriend, or this my woman friend, or this my lady friend. So for Nas to say, yo, tailor-made ostrich Chanel for my women friend, like, it was like, yo, he could have stopped right there and still got rhyme of the month. Like, just because, again, the way you set that off. You know, and even though Ray's verse wasn't phenomenal, just the hold up and the way they dropped the beat out and then came back, and it was just so the structure of that song was so incredible. And at that time, Ray was like Purple Tape hadn't dropped yet, but we had heard, you know, joints leading up to that, and everything like that. And it was just like, yo, Ray was that guy. Like, Ray's slang. Like, I understand you saying like you really didn't fuck with his slang, but Ray's slang, like, you know, everything, the way he puts, you know, Black Style in, wilding on Shaolin, like, just little things that he does, you know what I mean? And his slang, I mean, you know, to have all these three MCs on the same track. And I mean, Ray, you know, it's funny because we're about to do a show on Apartment 5B about MCs who get love. And I don't want to say they don't deserve it because that sounds bad. But the way that we all love Raekwon, you would think this man has 12 classic albums out, and he doesn't. He has one. You know what I mean? He has one. But I'm watching the Dream Champs with Ray and Ghost, and I'm listening to every word that come out of Ray's mouth like this dude has 14 classics. Like, and again, it's not, I don't want to say he doesn't deserve it, but that's just what a cultural hip-hop icon Ray is. I mean, the Snow Beach polo joint, we don't even call it, I mean, we call it the Snow Beach, but it's the Ray jacket. Like, one of the most popular polo pieces that you can get in the world right now is the Snow Beach, and it's all because Ray wore it in the Can It Be Also Simple video. To the point Just Blaze get one, and he wants Raekwon to sign it. Like, so he's not the greatest MC in the world, but it's one of those things where he's just a cultural icon. I mean, from the part in his hair, I mean, Jalen Rose gets the part. It's like, yo, the half moon, that's Ray shit. Like, that's what I mean about, like, Ray. So he's not the greatest MC, but between the slang and him just being a cultural icon at the time, it just fit. The beat is crazy. You talked about the snare. I have stolen that snare plenty of times when I first started producing because the snare is wide open at the end, and it's like, yo, fuck that. I'm taking that snare because it's so crazy. So, I mean, to me, the song is just, it's perfect. And again, you got to realize, again, it's coming off of, you know, Survival of the Fittest, which is hard as hell at the time. So it's just like, how do you follow up? You know, it's almost like a boxer. Like, yo, you almost knocked that dude out last round. Like, how you gonna follow that up? And then he comes with another crazy round, like, and knocks him out. It's like, yo, this, like, and that's what this album was. And to speak to your point about Hab not getting enough love, I think the thing that Hab's name isn't mentioned with the Pete's and the premieres because Hab doesn't have enough work under his belt. Like, for the most part, Hab only has these Mobb Deep albums. Yeah, he did a track for Jada Kiss the Wire. Yeah, he did a track for Game. Or yeah, he was kind of what I like to call a consultant producer. You know what I mean? He doesn't work for your firm. He kind of just comes in from time to time to clean shit up. And the problem is, if you're a consultant producer, your name isn't going to be mentioned with the Pete's. I mean, y'all just did the RZA thing. So you talking about RZA doing all the Enter, you talking about doing all to Cal, him doing the bulk of 30, Return to the 36, all of Iron Man, all the Liquid. So like that, right? Those, the first three albums is more than what Hav has really produced.
Basically,
you know what I mean?
If Hav was producing the entirety of the Noid album, the entirety of Infamous Mob, then we would have a conversation.
Right. Then it would be that. Yeah, then it would be that. And then you have to understand, too, Preem not only has those, 5 Gangstar albums under his belt, 2 J. Rue albums under his belt, and
Primo's top 5 for me. I'm putting Primo in my top 5.
And on top of that, producing for almost damn near everybody in the 90s. So that's the thing. Like, Hab would have had to do, like you said, the Noid, he only did the EP because Noid got locked back up. But I truly believe if he would have done a Noid album in 95, 96, that shit would have been crazy because Recognize and Realize is still crazy to this day. If you, like you said, if he would have done all them Queensbridge crews and then also had a beat over here. Well, he did have a beat with Biggie with Last Days on Life After Death, but he just didn't get enough work. You know what I mean? In my opinion, for his name to be mentioned. But the thing I always give Hab credit for is that Hab wasn't producing before this album, which really pushes him to the forefront because not too many people can say like, yo, the first full album I produced is a 5 mic hip hop
classic.
That's
crazy. So this was his first.
The first beat tape
this was
I
like
ever
his
put
first
out was
album.
garbage. I mean, it was just unlistenable.
Yeah, no, that's wow.
You know, so when you thinking about like Shook Ones 2 is one of this dude's first beats. Like you said, dog, if we go back to my ASR 95 disc, bruh, them beats sound horrible. So that's what I do give Hab so much props for because him and Outkast to me are like two of the few people who Outkast, like Dre and Big Boy, watched Organize do their thing. Then they started producing. They produced Elevators, which was one of their biggest hits. You know, so it's very hard that you normally don't see that. You normally don't see somebody who wasn't producing on the first album, and then by the second album they're producing, and you get the Infamous or you get ATL in. So those are like usually the only two people who I can think of hip hop wise that did not produce their first album, but by their second album was produced all of it because Q-Tip, we gotta give Tip love. Tip did 3 incredible beats on this album. You know what I mean? So have them produce everything. But again, to go from not producing to producing Shook Ones, Eye for an Eye, Survival of the Fittest, Right Back at You, all these not temperatures rising, Party Over, like incredible. So, you know, Hab definitely has to get props for that because that's unheard of.
Yeah, I would say that's. Man, it's hard for me to fathom like this being somebody's first like production outing because like these sound like this dude been doing this for a while. Like
yeah, and I mean drum wise, to me drums are usually the hardest things for a producer to get because you can always hear a sample. Like almost every sample on here, if you hear the original sample, you go, oh, that's where Tip got it from, or oh, that's even Shook Ones was a mystery for a long time. So I don't want to belittle Hab's digging either, but usually for a producer, the hardest thing is to get your drums to like fit in that pocket right with it. And that's the hardest part. And for him to have some of the hardest drums because Shook One's drums are crazy. Eye for an Eye, you know, hell, the remix to Survival of the Fittest was crazy. So again, I definitely got to give Hab props for that because again, his drums were top tier. Like when this album dropped, Hab's drums was top 5. That's including Pete, Primo, all of them dudes, RZA. Like, Hab's drums to me was harder than RZA's drums. You know, RZA's never really been known for his drums like that. You know what I mean? So, but again, that's something that's very hard to do. Like, it's take a cat who's never played basketball in his life, and then you put him on a court, and in a year, this dude is dribbling like Kyrie Irving. Like, that's unheard of. Like, how did you learn to dribble that good in a year? It's unheard of. So, Hab going from nothing to this, I mean, it's ingenious to me. You know what? To me, that's what we have to salute Hab for because that's unheard of.
I'm still willing to crown him, if only just on the basis of the Infamous and Hell on Earth, for the same reason why I remember my film teacher telling me back in high school. I said, "What other good Orson Welles movies are there other than Citizen Kane?" He told me Touch of Evil. And I said, okay. And he said, but even if that didn't exist, off the basis of Citizen Kane alone, we're giving him the one of the like top spots of all time just based off the innovations that he did in that film from a like production standpoint, from a positioning cameras and cuts and editing and all this stuff that, you know, if he never went on to make another film again after Citizen Kane, he would still be considered one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. And I really do believe that the Infamous and Hell on Earth are such a high, like just on such a high bar for me in terms of produced albums.
Right.
That I could just say off of those alone, reference quality production work. Some of the best I've ever heard. I'm not necessarily going to say top 5, but he's just not a name that comes up enough.
Right.
And, you know, even if you look at Murder Music and Infamy and America's Nightmare, when they start working with a few other producers, they bring in Scott Storch, they start working fairly extensively with Alchemist, which ends up being a very good decision, not just for the group, but also for Prodigy as a solo artist. You know, I think, was able to adapt his production style with the times. You know, the Havoc beats of, let's say, the late 90s and early 2000s don't sound like the Havoc beats on this album or Hell on Earth. Those are in their own sort of rarefied air.
You know, real quick, because this is kind of a great moment to mention this. There was a bar on here that I caught like the first time I heard it, and it was kind of odd to me. When Nas said Nas Escobar moving on your weak production, I was like, did he not like the beat? Because like I'm like, is he talking about this beat or just like other producers in general? Like, because I'm like, this beat is hard, and I don't think he would rap on it if he didn't like it. But
yeah, no, I don't think it was a knock on that. And it's crazy that line ended up going to Royal Flush used that. He had a joint called "Moving On Your Weak Production," and he sampled Nas saying that. Another MC out of Queens, Royal Flush, who got a slept on album out there, Ghetto Millionaire. That's crazy. But yeah, I don't think he was this and Have at all. Nah.
Okay.
Have. I mean, this beat was crazy.
Well, I'll tell you, I know he wasn't, because I don't know if you've ever heard this, Kill. Nas rapped on this beat again.
Oh, word?
So in 2000, Nas pops up, I think on a Clue mixtape. We'll hear the drop at the top of the song. Nas pops up rapping on this beat again on a mixtape. So I definitely think, you know, he enjoyed this beat enough to return to it. Mel, do you have that in the folder?
Yeah,
we could
I
play
got it right here. It's loaded up. Probably just play the whole thing, right? It's only like a minute 55.
Yeah, play the whole thing.
All right, here it is.
Yo, this Nas, niggas, what up? My nigga DJ Clue, put this shit on these niggas. Desert Storm, baby, 2000. A drug dealer's dream. Flip his last key, get out the game. Cause entertainment money now is off the chain. I put blunts in niggas' caskets, lost in the game. I learned to love pain, bodies burnt in the drug game. But I'm never gonna die. I never heard of death, energy can never be destroyed. Only the flesh, or when you niggas try to murder me with bullets to my head. This is why you can't kill me, niggas, I'm already dead. Bring it, I'm busting bodies fall in the cemetery. Black blood raining on the street, all you niggas buried y'all. Niggas that just came home, fresh out the state greens. 5-time felons, think he's yelling in Queens is pitiful. What a big do, especially federal. Y'all young thugs, while in prison, got a bed for you waiting. I clapped at Satan, but thought I was dreaming. I woke up masturbating in a bed with demons. I cried with every bit of strength in my small body. This is the life I chose under God. I'm tiny, hard to find me. I popped up, lock shop up. You can't be I. See, I'm eternal, not luck. You get shot up, boxed up next for the grave. Your flow is one-dimensional. Your level is second grade. You on top, what? Copy and fuck. I said it first, you repeat it. Your false crown covered in dirt, defeated. Y'all niggas all hell, the king is dead. He running like a bitch with his tail between his legs. Still Matic, still eye for eye. Wanna be God, you just the next rapper to die. Fucking with Nas.
Yeah, DJ Clue, Desert Storm. Great ones, part two niggas.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy right there.
Kind of, flipping the original opening line and then kind of going from there. Obviously not on the same level, but I think it's still pretty dope.
Well, that part about like the crown with the dirt on, I gotta bring in Flex.
That's called motherfucking bars, nigga. You know nothing about that.
Yeah, that was yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I guess that definitely solves it. He definitely did not like the beat. So
Yeah. Nah,
yeah.
that wasn't it. That wasn't it. But yeah, so that's why I picked that joint, man. I mean, it's definitely one of the hardest songs. And then, like you brought up with the verbal intercourse, to me, those they just connected dope like that. You know what I mean? So yeah. And it's funny because if you see the Ray and Ghost Drink Champs, they talk about how much they fuck with Nas, like how he was like a little brother to them. So, definitely dope to see. You know what I mean? All that stuff come together here. So incredible song,
Mel,
man.
you got some support, by the way, from Ghostface. Apparently, he's not a fan of Iron Man.
Well, I'm not a fan. Like, it didn't suck to me, but he said that?
Yeah.
Huh.
Here's the funny thing. Here's the funny thing with that. And because I feel like me being a producer, this happens all the time. I send MCs a beat that I'm like, you're going to fucking love this beat. Right to with the nights in the back. And they're like, yeah, kill, this beat is aight. Then they're like, yo, but what about this beat over here? And I'm like, bro, I ain't even finished. I ain't even named that shit. And that's the stuff that people end up wanting. So many times artists aren't fans of their best work, whether it's, I think with Ghost, I didn't get to that part of the interview, but from what people told me was like, yo, it was a dark time for him. He was, doing drugs. He wasn't mentally there when doing that album. But, I mean, that happens a lot with artists where you're like, yo, the beat, the album we think is the greatest thing in the world. They're like, yeah, that was all right. You know what I mean?
I know all about that phenomenon.
So it's almost just like, because people will say it like that, like, see, Kill, Ghost don't like Iron Man. I told you that shit was whack. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck if who tells me they don't like that shit. That shit's still crazy to me. Ghost could say we don't like his whole discography. And I'm going to be like, well, I disagree with Ghost. Like, that nigga ain't the hip hop Jesus. Like, okay, you didn't like it, nigga. I did. Just because you made it, just because your wife make mac and cheese and she don't like it, don't mean now you don't got to like it. It's like, yo, do it taste good to you? Yeah, it tastes good to me. Well, we just disagree. So,
look, Iron Man still tastes good. Although, I'll say this, Mel, Raekwon's sitting there during this interview when Ghost is talking about this, and Nori's like shocked that Ghost is saying this, and Raekwon's like, he's crazy, man. He's crazy. Like, don't listen to him, man. Like,
don't listen to him.
Yeah, Ray was, because he was like, Ghost was saying like, yo, Ray, he's not on board with this opinion, basically. Like, Ray thinks Iron Man's crazy. He loves it.
It really is like that. Like Hill was saying, I mean, just, being an artist myself, it's like, it's one of those things. I mean, no one will ever really know what you felt like when you were making something, what the process was. So it's like, people will be like, oh, you should have made more of that, or, oh, that was your best. And I'm like, nah, I got stuff better than that. Or like, that wasn't even, that's just kind of comes with the territory of being an artist. Unfortunately, it's like, you never know what people are going to gravitate towards and what they'll attach themselves to and what they won't. I've heard countless stories where it's like people, the artist hates like their big single, it's like, and the whole world loves it. And it's like, nah, I actually prefer this record on the album, or I wanted this to be the single. It's just.
Yo, I'll give y'all a great example. I gave MOP a beat tape back in 2009. Now, MOP at that time was probably my favorite group. I mean, I had tailor-made beats like, yo, if I could get these to MOP, they're going to pick these beats. And out of like maybe the 30 beats that were on there, they picked the one beat that I was on the fence about even giving them. And to this day, I still don't even love the song. So it just goes to show how, in my mind, I had 29 tailor-made beats for MOP. Like, it's like, yo, these are perfect for you. Like, I promise you, if my name was Premier and this was a beat CD from Premier, y'all would have picked all 29 of these beats. And the one beat they picked is the beat that I remember being like, I don't even know if I want to put this on here because this ruins the whole mood. This don't say MOP at all. And that's the one they picked. So it just, again, it goes to show you that as the artist, you're thinking, this ain't gonna be the one, or this ain't it. And it's always like that. So again, I'm not, when rappers say things like that, like, oh man, I hate that album, or I hate listening to that album, I'm never really like shocked, because again, being an artist is like, I get it. Like, I get it. The beat MOP picked for Rude Bastards, to this day, I'm like, yo, I don't like this beat to this day. Like, I have no idea why y'all picked it. I mean, I'm glad y'all did, but
Right.
I have no idea why you picked this beat. What the fuck about the other 29 beats that would, you know? So again, that's just the life of an artist, man.
Yeah, I know all about it. I mean, Mools, in our working relationship, there was, you know, all the times I would send you something and it's like, I don't know about it. And you'd be like, yo, are you crazy? Like, this is the one.
The I don't know about it is sometimes, you know, like a harbinger of something really good that I'm about to hear, but Mel is unsure because he's not done this style yet, or
you know, or it's like, you know, I'm just naturally very critical of myself, but
you're
like
just messing around maybe, and sometimes
right, you're trying
around,
something and you don't really think it's, you know, all the way, you know, as polished as things you normally do, and then someone hears and it's like, yo, that's actually amazing, or it's like, yo, that's it. So it's an interesting, you know, sort of give and take to being an artist. But that's interesting. You know, like to hear that he said that about Iron Man. I mean, let me see if I can check real quick. I liked how many songs on Iron Man? I liked five songs on Iron Man.
Goodness.
All right, well there were 17, so I guess that is kind of like, but I didn't think it was a terrible album. But I'm gonna check that interview out because I want to see exactly what.
Bro, sit down and get your popcorn. That shit 4 hours. I gotta do that shit in pieces. Like I give y'all.
We know all about marathon. I mean,
like,
this
bro,
show itself.
I cannot sit down and just listen to somebody talk for 4 hours. Like, not in a row. Like, that's my ADHD kicking in. Like, I give y'all an hour a day, but.
Yeah, so and that's how we encourage people to consume this show. Like, you don't have to sit down and listen to like all 7 hours at once. You know, it's like, you know, take it a bit at a time. I know I do when I listen back to like try to, you know, get excerpts and things. I don't just sit and listen to us talk the whole way through, you know, hour here, hour there. And that's pretty much how it goes. But
right.
Yeah, you know, yeah, this album, I mean, as you know, I'm sure when we continue to review, we'll get more into it, but this was, I won't say a pleasant surprise because what Mobb Deep I've consumed, thanks to Mools, like put me on to certain things the past few years. I came in expecting to like it, but the extent to which I enjoy it's clear to me I enjoy this album like as an album, like as a whole piece. It's not like, you know, oh, I like a handful of songs here. Or it's like, oh, I really like that one. I don't know about everything else. As an experience, as a whole album experience, I enjoy this thing. And, you know, you talk about this coming out of Survival of the Fittest. Like, this is one of those albums for me where, like, the run keeps going for a long time. From the start to, like, they don't miss for a while for me, you know? So it's one of those albums. And I love those albums because, you know, I'm sure some people would disagree. And I'm sure there are albums still being made out there that fit this classification. But it feels like these days you don't get too many of those albums you can just turn on from the top and just let play. You know, it's like in the streaming era, the playlist era, you know, people just do a data dump. They'll throw out 30 of their recently recorded tracks, like mildly sequenced, and call it an album, you know?
Right. I mean, and you got to realize too that nowadays I don't think people understand how to put an album together. You know what I mean? So you're dealing with, number one, you're having Q-Tip as the executive producer on this album. So you're talking about one of the greatest producers of all time. You know what I mean? Overseeing this. Then you're talking about they're on Loud Records. So Scotch Free is A&R in this joint. So you got that. And we're just dealing with an era of you had to make incredible albums to get for your name to stay. You know what I mean? Like, whereas now, like, people make songs. Like, it's still amazing to me, like, how it's like, oh, Dropping the Night, Freddie Gibbs and Jadakiss got a song. And I'm like, that's still new to me to be like, we're now anticipating just songs. Like, it wasn't like that in the 90s. You came home from high school, you turn on Rap City, like, oh shit, check the rhyme, new Tribe song. Like, there was no build up for a new song. Whereas now, you'll have, I remember a couple of weeks ago, Silk Sonic, that's the name of them? Yeah, Silk Sonic, Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars. They was like, oh, new Silk Sonic dropping. And I was like, the album, they're like, no, a song. I'm like, God damn, like, where's the album? So, again, it's just, we're now in the era of just making good songs. You know what I mean? So it's like people are getting hyped for this Jadakiss Gibbs song, which is extremely dope, the way you would usually be getting hyped for a Jadakiss Freddie Gibbs album. So I just think a lot of these younger people who are just coming up in the game, they don't understand how to make a song. I've been in the studio with people who just think, I'm like, okay, we got 14 songs done. And they're like, all right, boom, album done. And I'm like, nah, let's keep recording. Like, because I come from an era where you will record 30 songs and then pick the best 14 you had. Then the ones that were left over that weren't whack, but maybe they didn't fit the mood of the album. Well, we'll put that on the soundtrack. Or we'll put that over, we'll let that go over there. Whereas now, it's just like, yo, first 14 songs, we're done. Okay, well, let's put in let's figure out how we're gonna sequence it. What you mean sequence it, Kill? Just throw that shit in the order that we recorded. I'm like, no, B, we gotta map this out so that, so again, I just don't think a lot of people nowadays actually know how to, it's almost like writing a paper. I grew up in an era where you had to know okay, this is your thesis statement, and this is the beginning paragraph, and this is the body, and this is your conclusion. Now people just write. You know what I mean? So if you're not really taught how to do this, so I think, again, like, with Mobb Deep, they're coming up at an era where in the 90s, if you wanted your name to be taken serious, you had to have an incredible album. It wasn't just about a dope song. Trends of Culture, Off and On, one of the biggest songs in the 90s. The album came out, it didn't do anything. We forgot about Trends of Culture. You know what I mean? So that, same thing, Blase Blase, When the East is in the House, Danger, one of the biggest songs of the 90s. Album came out, didn't really do anything. So if you wanted your name to ring bells and be around next year, then you had to make an incredible album. I think Mobb already knew they fucked up by coming out with that Juvenile Hell shit. Because if this joint wasn't dope, it was a wrap for them after that. So this really was like a do or die moment for them, because it's like, we ain't giving you a pass for 2 subpar albums. Like, we not doing that. You know what I mean? So they knew what they had to come with. Kill? What's that?
This album is essentially, it's the sophomore album from Mobb Deep, but it's kind of the debut if you think about their debuting this new Mobb Deep, essentially.
Right.
From, it's complete 180 from the old stuff.
Right.
Now, this album, the infamous Mobb Deep, already establishes the entire ethos, the whole sound, the mission statement, the whole branding and aura and everything came from this album. And that's the craziest thing. When we think Mobb Deep, even though the group evolved over time, they still kept the original logo. It was always a callback to this. And it was almost like they had everything figured out at this point. And from there, very little changes had to be made, except for just keeping up with the change in the sound of rap.
Right. Yeah, there's what you said is the perfect way to explain it. That it just this was almost like their debut album. You know what I mean? Because the thing is I think with hip hop fans, we can have that Men in Black moment if your follow-up album is dope enough. You know what I mean? I always tell people, I give Common a pass for that Electric Circus shit because he came back with B. It was like, I'll forget about that. Like, I'll have that.
To that point, Gil, Common is someone who I didn't know Resurrection wasn't his debut for a number of years. Then I heard Can I Borrow $1 a few years later, and I said to myself, holy shit, if I was listening to this in real time, I might not want to have checked out Resurrection, because this album's pretty whack. This Can I Borrow $1? I mean, he's flowing on there, he's styling at different points on that album. There's a couple songs on there, but compared to Resurrection, compared to what he would go on to do, and that they always say make sure your debut is a statement. Make sure that when you're putting out an album, you only get one debut album, so make it count. And we have a few examples, I think this being one of, if not the prime example, of essentially a group coming around a second time, repackaged, refreshed, and they have all their shit together. I mean, this is the group, sort of all fully formed now.
Right. I think the hard part too is in the beginning of the 90s, 85 to 93 is such a strange year for a strange era of hip hop, because record executives didn't know what to do with hip hop when it first came in the 80s. So it was kind of just do whatever y'all want to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
And because we don't know how to market this shit yet. So just, make songs. And then when NWA came in with Straight Outta Compton and all the cursing, I always tell people Cool G Rap's first album had 0 curse words in it. 0. Not one. You know what I mean? This is Cool G Rap, one of the hardest MCs in the history of hip hop. He's the cool gangster of rap. And there's not one curse word on the entire first album. NWA dropped Straight Outta Compton, and his second album has every other word is a curse word. You know what I mean? So I've always wondered, okay, did G-Rap always want to curse? And did Cold Chillin say, no, don't curse because that's going to hurt record sales? Or did Cold Chillin say, did Cool G-Rap not want to curse? And it's like, oh, no, now you have to curse because now that's what everybody wants in hip-hop. After Straight Outta Compton, that gave record labels a mindset of, okay, these dudes just sold millions of records. This is what you have to do. Okay, everybody curse. I want everybody cursed on their song. You know what I mean? Because that's essentially what happened. So back in the day, if you had that parental advisor sticker on your album prior to Straight Outta Compton, dog, you might as well throw your album away. No record store is going to sell it. No parent is going to buy it. Nothing's going to happen. After Straight Outta Compton, if you wanted that was your goal. Your goal was to get the parental advisor sticker on your album because now that meant every kid is going to want it. Every record store is going to sell. So again, you have like these moments in hip hop, like you have in the Bible, like before Christ, after death, like before Straight Outta Compton, after Straight Outta Compton. So now everybody's cursing, and then Das came out with the Iggy style, and then everybody was doing that. Common, Jay, everybody. So I think one of the reasons we really didn't hold Common's first album against him because everybody was rapping like that at the time. What happened was your debut album gave you time to now say, can you put that Iggy shit to the side and really spit? And Common was able to say, yeah, I can put that shit to the side. Now let me show you I can really spit. Same thing with Mobb Deep. Like I said, when I first saw Hit It From the Back, I was like, oh, these niggas just like the youngsters, illegal, like the rest of these little kiddie groups out here. And then it was like, okay, boom. When you saw Shook Ones, it was like, okay, I'm not mad at that because that's what everybody was doing at the time. Literally, ABC popped up, and then the next thing you know, you had the youngsters, you had illegal, everybody had a kid group. So it was like, oh, here come these Mobb Deep dudes. So I don't think we really held it against them. So that's why I think we were more forgiving in the 90s of an okay debut album, and giving you that chance, that second chance for the sophomore, because we kind of got it. And that's what everybody's doing at the time. If I would have got a record deal in 90, I would have probably came out Iggity because that's what was selling. So that's what the record label is going to say, do that Iggity stuff. And even if the record label isn't saying it, that's what I'm going to do. It's the same thing with production. In the 90s, everybody was doing jazz loops. That's just what it was about. Like, people always think about Tribe Called Quest. Gangstar, with Words I Manifest in 88, was Dizzy Gillespie's Night in Tunisia. But people give Tribe all the love for being the first group to sample jazz when Gangstar did that shit 3 years before them. But it's like, okay, now that jazz is played out and we're not sampling jazz anymore, can you still be dope? And a lot of groups couldn't be dope. Diggable fell off because they couldn't kind of get past that jazz label. The Roots, look at the Roots. Do You Want More sounds nothing like Illadelph Half-Life. Night and day of each other. When the Roots came out, it was no samples.
Would never go back to that style again, that Do You Want More sort of jam session feel.
Yeah, because they understood that they came in right at that tail end. Because people got to remember, when you get a deal, the Roots may have got their deal in 93 when Diggable was still the shit. By the time you record the album and put it out, guess what? Jazz rap is played out now. So that's the problem. Like, it's not like, okay, you get a deal, in 93 and then you drop the album in 93. You may not drop the album for 2 more years. So by the time it drops, oh shit. No, I wasn't a Roots fan. I thought Proceed was cool and Silent Treatment songs here and there, but I became a fan on Illadelph because now they were using drum machines. That whole Look Mine, No Samples, and We're a Live Band, I was like, yo, that shit whack. Like, we got Wu-Tang out, we got Mobb Deep out, we got all this hard hip hop, and here you dudes coming with a bass and a damn Rhodes keyboard. Nobody want to hear that shit, And you see that, but you see how they adapted. Right. They adapted in Illadelph. When you hear Clones, the last thing you heard from the Roots was Silent Treatment, and then the next thing you hear is Clones. Like, think about that. Like, after we get off, play Silent Treatment and then play Clones, dog. It's 180-degree change. You know what I mean? Because they understood this isn't where hip hop is. So I mean, it's almost like the pass we have to give artists because they're making music at a time where they're just trying to keep up whatever's cool at the time. You know what I mean? So again, somebody's debut album a couple of years ago may have been auto-tune. Now auto-tune is played out. Now we have to see what are you gonna come with your second album, because now what you did the first album ain't in no more. And to me, that's what made Common dope. It's what made Mobb Deep dope, because they were able to say, okay, we can do more than just that. We can do more than just do whatever was in at the time. This is who we really are. You know, when you look at Jay-Z on Can I Get Open, did he look like some drug dealer from Marcy who, you know, still spending money from 88? Hell no. He looked like a regular rap dude, you know, just in the video. And now all of a sudden you hear in my lifetime, this dude is talking about moving weight and this and that. And I'm like, whoa, when this nigga become a drug dealer? Like, you know, so again, according to Jay, he always was the drug dealer. But guess what? Talking about drugs wasn't the end thing to do.
Wasn't right
in the early 90s. So it's like, you know what? I can't talk about being a drug dealer because that's not what rappers do right now. Whereas now all you do is talk about drugs. So again, hip hop is so changing, and it's hard to kind of fit in and move with the ups and downs and the and the sways of
very
hip-hop.
fast at this time too. I mean, we're right in the dead. You know, are we in 95, Mel?
Yeah,
it's
right,
95.
like in the middle of
Transforming pretty
95.
fast.
So, you know, things are moving at a very fast pace. And
then here's the crazy thing about that. Fast forward 1 year to 96, and what's the biggest hip hop album out? The Score by the Fugees, which is the most non-gangster talking hip hop album. You see what I'm saying? So we're going from Mobb Deep, Eye for an Eye, yo, you creep up on me in my Jeep, I'm gonna kill you. Now we doing Killing Me Softly and Fuji Lie. You know what I mean? So again, you know, you've got to kind of move with the changes. Look at the Fugees' first album, trash. Blunted on Reality, trash.
Yep.
Second album, 10 million records sold. How do you go from trash to 10 million records? So I think a lot of people really understood, like, yo, we have to really come with who we are on this album, because I really think they
we're
signed
still
the
seeing
Fugees.
it this generation, though, Mel. Right? Like Drake's first album, Thank Me Later.
Yeah, it was basically just
Take
commercial
Care.
concessions, making the sound of the day. Take Care was kind of like, all right, now that I've gotten out of the way, let me show you what I'm really trying to do with my sound. It
Not
was
only
sort of
that,
like the sequel
J.
was
Cole,
so far gone.
right? J. Cole, the Sideline
Story
Story
came out, and that was kind of like, and Born Sinner was more what people expected from him. You know?
Wale with Ambition.
Oh yeah,
you know,
that was
he
a
came
big,
out
like,
on
Attention
Interscope.
Deficit, right? Was the first one.
I'm sorry, Attention Deficit. He comes out, he's got a Lady Gaga single, he's on Interscope. I think he only moves like 30K first week. Then he comes back with the Ambition album. He's on Rick Ross's label. I think he moves over 200,000 units in the first week on that album.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to keep in mind with that, hip hop has always been about affiliation. So like you just said, now he's on Rick Ross's label.
Right. So now there's a little more credibility.
So you have that affiliation, you know, and even going way back in hip hop, it's always been about who are you down with? Who's in your crew? You know, and again, that's what made people like Common so dope. Common didn't have no crew. He's out of Chicago. Mobb Deep didn't really have a crew. They were out of Queensbridge. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think
this record dope. I mean, to take it all back to Eye for an Eye, this is Raekwon from the Wu-Tang Clan and Nas of Illmatic fame co-signing Mobb Deep on a record, basically.
Right. Exactly. So now you have the cosign. I mean, and that's what we're all looking for. If you're looking for a job, what you need? A hookup, right? You need a cosign. Mm-hmm. Like, who's gonna cosign to get you this job, and you ain't gotta go through the interview. Just tell them you know me, and you good money. Exactly. Same thing when you try and kick it to a girl. Yo, that's your homegirl. Yo, you can put a word in for me. Like, no matter where you are in life, you're looking for that cosign. So like you just said, Nas and Ray have given these two guys the cosign. So it's just like, yo, if Nas and Ray fuck with them, then we fuck with them. And it's that simple. And we've always been looking for that in hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't have that, then you do what Jay does, and you just have to be a drug dealer and have a lot of money, and you can just say, okay, you know what, fuck it. I'm buying all my radio spins. I'm buying all these producers. I'm paying this. Like Primo and Ski would say, yo, Jay would come to the studio with money in shoe boxes to pay us. You know what I mean? So if you don't have the cosign, then you need the money behind you. And the money behind you is the record label. Or now you look at it like the money behind you has always been drug money, you know, or NBA money. I heard the guy who signed Meg Stallion in the first place was like an old MLB player. So this dude has money to blow. You know, he's able to invest. I think he said he invested like over $1 million in Meg Thee Stallion. You give me $1 million, I'll make somebody a star too. You talking about a chick who looks good, fat ass, you know, is attractive. I don't care if you can rap or not. You give me $1 million, I can make fill in the blank with those same items into a star. But who has $1 million who can just blow but an NBA player or a drug dealer? So it always comes back to, you know, that premise. But like to what you said with the cosign of Nas and Ray, it was like, boom, we're good. And they're on Loud Records.
Right.
This
and then
is
you
a
get
time
that that's how you Men in Black the juvenile hell.
Exactly.
Basically.
And you're at a time when record labels still mattered. When you knew, oh, you on Loud, that means you down with Woo, you down with the Alcoholics, you down with Woo. You know what I mean? Like you're down with these people, or oh, this person's on Death Row, or this person's on Bad Boy, or this person. Now I don't even know if record labels exist. Like outside Griselda, like I don't even really know if there's a big cosign. But so you got that cosign and you're on Loud Records. You know, it and again, Mobb Deep understanding, like, if this doesn't work, if the Fugees don't blow up with the score, it was a wrap. If Mobb Deep doesn't blow up with this, it's a wrap. You know what I mean? Like, and I think they kind of understood that. You know, I mean, it's the same thing with the Wu. You saw, if y'all watched the series, you saw how they came out with Jizza, with, you know, Come Do Me. You know what I'm saying? Which was not the Jizza Steez, but I was reading this book and they was like, yeah, but Cold Chillin' at the time was losing Big Daddy Kane. So they were trying to replace him with another dark-skinned dude to kind of be that lover man MC. And that's why they had Jizza do that. Was that Jizza Steez? No, but the record label was telling you want this record deal, I need you to be the cool lover dude type dude. Right. Same thing with Prince Rakeem. Ooh, we love you, Rakeem. There's no coincidence to me that both of these Wu-Tang dudes both had songs about girls during the same era. Because these labels were still stuck in, oh, we need another Big Daddy Kane. Big Daddy Kane is the biggest rapper. He's the sex symbol. He's got songs. He's doing songs with Patti LaBelle. He's on Quincy Jones, back to the juke joint. He's over here in the book with Madonna naked. Like, we need the next Big Daddy Kane. So that's what record labels were trying to sign, was both these dudes trying to come out being like some lover boy type shit. So again, we didn't hold that against them because it was like, yeah, them shits was whack. But then you hear Protect Your Neck. And you can't deny it. So even if you wanted to be like, man, that's that, oh, I love you, Rakeem, nigga. You can't deny Protect Your Neck, though. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing. You have to come with something so dope that we don't. When I heard Shook Ones, the first one, and then you hear Shook Ones too, I don't even remember Hit It From the Back. Like, it's literally a Men in Black moment because these songs were so dope. Like you said, you hear Combs, I Used to Love Her, you forget all about Can I Borrow a Dollar? Like, because the song is so dope. So, I mean, I think that that's one of the reasons, too, we got incredible hip hop in the 90s, because a lot of these dudes had to bounce back from these freshman blunders. And they knew if we don't do it right this time, it's a wrap for us. And, you know, with Mobb Deep, it's just, you know, you just see the rest of their, you know, their trajectory, which is just bananas. Up until Summer Jam. After that, Prodigy kind of became the Nick Anderson of hip hop. But, you know, up in the Summer Jam.
I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree. But
what you think?
I mean, I'm a big fan of Prodigy's solo material. I love Return of the Mac. I love both the H and IC albums. Like, as a solo artist, if I'm looking overall at the whole Mobb Deep discography and the whole solo Prodigy discography, I hold them in equal regard.
Okay. Can't be mad at that. I'll say this. From being a huge Mobb fan, something happened after Hell on Earth. Like, I was fans of songs, but not necessarily the whole albums. You know what I mean? Like, right. God, what came out? The joint, the real shit to make Quiet Storm. That's just incredible. Flat out incredible. One of the greatest Mobb Deep songs. Wasn't a fan of the entire album. You know what I'm saying? And to me, Prodigy lost a step after that Summer Jam shit. Like, to me, he just was never the same. Not that he was whack. It's just that J thing just dinged him. And I don't think mentally he could get past that. Now, again, I wasn't the biggest P fan. So it's kind of like I tell people all the time, like, when one of the reasons I love Twitter is because it gives me a chance to meet people from all over the world. Because what happens is, I think everybody, I'll be like, yeah, yo, everybody was fucking with Illmatic when it came out. Then I meet somebody from Atlanta, like, nah, we wasn't listening to that shit out here. And then I meet somebody from LA, and they're like, nigga, we ain't even know who Nas was till it was written. And I'm like, are you crazy? Everybody on the East Coast. But I'm just really just talking about niggas in Baltimore when I was at Morgan, people in Philly, and maybe people in Jersey and New York. You know what I mean? So I think like that's the thing. So I mean, again, I know I know a lot of people who agree with you who love
Right.
Prodigy, but they're all Prodigy fans. I
Oh,
can't
I
say I
mean-
was a Prodigy fan. Like I fucked with P. P, I'll tell you in a minute, P was one of the dopest people ever. And I explained this on Twitter. When I tell people I'm not a fan of somebody, it doesn't mean I don't like them. It just means when I first heard Tribe Called Quest, I wasn't a fan of People's Instinctives. I like Bonita. I mean, I Left My Wild El Segundo was cool, but it wasn't until I heard Check the Rhyme and Low End Theory that I became a fan. So when like I say I'm a fan, it's like, yo, you got a show, I'm going. You got a new book coming out, I'm buying it. Like
Right.
I just was never
Exactly.
a P fan, but I fuck with P. Like he's nasty. Like I never want people. I'm not a LeBron James fan. I've never been a Michael Jordan fan, but I'm not gonna sit here and not tell you he ain't the GOAT. You know what I mean? So you know, I fuck with P, but I know a lot of people who do feel like how you said, like yo, P, who love P solo stuff, and
Oh
I
my
think,
God.
and I don't
love
think
it,
it's really
but-
about P. I think something happened with Havoc. I don't know what happened. Like when they started
Right.
fucking with Alchemist, I was like, yo, this is a little weird because y'all are a group and have you do all the beats. It's almost like imagine Gangstar and then all of a sudden they bring in another producer. You know, you'd be like, yo, you know, Gangstar is Premier Guru, right? Like, why are you bringing this other dude in? Like, same thing with Pete and CL. Imagine if you brought a Pete and CL album and Pete Rock only did half the beats and some new dude was coming in doing the other half the beats. It's like, yo, dog.
The only
like,
thing that's a little bit different is Havoc is rapping usually on every single Mobb Deep song.
right.
So I understand, like, just from I guess like a utility standpoint, in order to get these joints out, you got to start farming out the production to some other people, because Havoc is always going to have a presence on these songs, whether he produces them or not. And like, even to your point earlier, Q-Tip does beats on this album. So it's, you know, as opposed to like Gangstar is not Gangstar without Premier Beats to me. There's just
Right.
it's not even in conversation. But to
Right.
me, P, being able to get Alchemist as essentially one of his main producers as a solo artist
Right.
really invigorated him for me. And, you know, I have to admit, I have some bias here because, you know, I'm from, you know, the same places that he's from. I'm from Long Island. I'm from Queens. Like, those are the two places I spent the most of my time in my life.
Right.
You know, I have a, at times, similar disposition to P. He's someone who I desperately wanted to work with while I was making beats, and had the opportunity to. So, you know, like, he's just someone who, for me personally, I'm just leaving I'm Men in Black. I'm doing the Men in Black on the Summer Jam shit.
Oh, no. Bruh. I totally understand, bro. I totally understand. You know what I mean? And again, I think for me, I just, you know, I this is one of those questions I really have always wanted to know. Like, is that the situation? Because to me, to me, I don't feel like, and me being a producer, I don't feel like you'd have to farm out the beats because you're only making beats for Mobb. Like, if you was a Kanye West in his heyday, when you're doing Jay-Z beats and you're doing this person beats and you're doing that
Right. person
beats and you're doing 50 million beats, then it's like, I get it. But if all you're doing is Mobb Deep beats, it's like, dog, why are you giving half? Is this to put Alchemist on? Like, was it for the love? Was it like, yo, I wanted to put this on? Or, you know,
If I'm going now, again, I don't have like inside information as far as that goes, but if I'm going as far as saying, you know, in Prodigy's book, he's talking about working with Alchemist and their relationship and everything like that. Never seemed like it was an issue between him and Hav, or, you know, Hav like even mentioning anything. I'm just thinking, like, theoretically, perhaps he wanted to lighten his production load a little bit and just rap more.
Right. And I mean, that's understandable because, like I said, Hav's joint, The Silent Partner, where Alchemist does the whole album and Hav is just rapping, is an incredibly slept on album to me. You know what I mean? And definitely to me shows Hav definitely stepping his bars up, because even with the Infamous, it was like, yo, to me, P was just so much better than Have. But then by the time Hell on Earth, like Have kept getting better. You know what I
Right.
mean? So, and yeah, so no doubt. I definitely agree with you on that. But yeah, man, at the end of the day, man, this is just such an incredible album because, again, not too many times in hip hop do you have a Men in Black moment where you just forget all about Hit It From the Back or whatever the hell. And again, man, that the first Shook ones, man, was just crazy. And it's funny because this is the era too when, the promotion items were stickers. You know what I mean? So with every album, you had this, and it's crazy because I just found this picture of the Shook One sticker that they were giving out when the album dropped, and it was dope because it was just the definition of what a Shook One was. So it has Shook Ones, and then under it has like how you would pronounce it. It says those who act like criminals to protect themselves from danger on the streets, when in reality they live in fear for their own lives. 2, Mobb Deep's debut on Loud RCA. You know what I mean? And to me, that was just so crazy to like kind of see a definition of what a Shook One was. Because people at that time, it was like nobody was using the word shook. That's another thing about Mobb. Like, we ain't even getting to the whole done language, but I had never heard the word shook before Mobb Deep Shook Ones dropped. So to me, that sticker was so dope because it was like, what is a Shook One? Like, what is that? You know what I mean? So again, this is just an incredible album. I mean, it's to me one of the greatest hip hop albums ever.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. This one's very near and dear to my heart. And Kill, having you on for these classics. I mean, I don't bother hitting you up for anything that's not an absolute top shelf level hip hop album. I'm really glad
appreciate
you could join
it, bro.
us for this one.
I love chopping it up with y'all, man. Hit me for whatever. I mean, I appreciate that, but hit me whenever. I just love chopping it up with y'all. So,
All right.
I mean, the sentiment goes both ways there. And if you have anything to plug, please, the floor is all yours.
We got me and my man King James have an EP out called The First 48. Incredible response for it. It's at jamesspitflames.bandcamp.com. Incredible album. And it's funny that we were just talking about songs that an artist not feeling the song. He has this song there called Chess, where he's talking about the chessboard, similar to on a scene from The Wire with D'Angelo, where he's talking about chess as far as the drug game and everything like that. He sends it to me and he's like, yo, I don't really fuck with this, OG. I may not keep it. And I'm like, yo, you have lost your fucking mind. This song is bananas. Like, what do you mean? I let my wife hear it and she was like, yo, like, y'all could use that to like teach kids how to play chess. And I'm like, yo, this dude about to scrap this. So again, just a testament to how, as the artist, he's like, yo, OG, I ain't feeling this. And I'm like, yo, you've lost your mind. This is going to be crazy. And then I got a project out with my man called Echo Is the Name, Season 7. So again, you can get that at echoisthename.bandcamp.com. I always try to, get people to understand because the average rap fan thinks streaming is what gives artists money.
Like,
so I've had
I've
had people say, yo, man, I've been playing it all day. We getting them streams up. And I'm like, love is love. But if you really want to support artists out there, buy it from their Bandcamp. Bandcamp takes a portion, but it gives us the most money. Don't buy it through iTunes or Apple Music or Tidal or any of that stuff. Just buy it if it's on Bandcamp. And you want to support the artist, that is the best way to make sure that we get some money in our pocket. So again, that's jamesspitflames.bandcamp.com and then echoisthename.bandcamp.com. That's I guess it. Apartment 5B. You can always check us out on willmakebeatsforfood.com. Everything is up there. So again, if you don't get the Bandcamp names right and everything, you can just all the projects are on willmakebeatsforfood.com. Apartment 5B. Shout out to my team every week for the work we do over there. So yeah, that's it, man. That's everything that's going on right now.
Word. Kill, it was a pleasure. I'm sure we'll see you again soon. Thank you for coming by.
Yes, sir. Man. Thank y'all for having me.
Just stick around for a sec so we could grab your audio, and we'll be right back.
Yes, sir.
Folks.
Yo, it's Mel from Rap Rankings.
To hear the full episode this clip comes from and all the other episodes, stop by raprankings.com or search Rap Rankings on your favorite podcast platform.